You know that feeling when spring finally hits? You start to hear the birds chirping again, see them at the feeder. It's just, well, a classic sign of the season, right? But what if I told you there's this whole hidden drama playing out right in our own backyards? And the choices we make, the plants we pick for our gardens, they have a massive, massive impact. Okay, let's get into this. So here's the big question. Is your garden actually helping birds? Or could it be hurting them? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is way more complicated than you might think. We all love a beautiful green lawn, those perfect flower beds. We think it's like a paradise for wildlife. But the science, well, it tells a totally different story. Today, we're going to dig into how our gardens can either be a critical lifeline for birds or a really dangerous illusion.
All right, let's kick things off with a pretty wild idea. What if your perfect, beautifully manicured garden is, well, what if it's a trap? I know, it sounds super dramatic, but for the local birds, a yard that looks all lush and inviting can actually be a place where they just can't find a single thing to eat.
And there's actually a scientific term for this. It's called an ecological trap. And sadly, that's what a lot of our conventional gardens have become. See, they send all the right signals, green leaves, pretty flowers, a place to hide. But when a bird shows up looking for the right kind of food for its babies, it finds nothing. The cupboard is bare. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. Think about it. Most of the plants you see at a typical garden center, those popular ornamental ones, for the local insects that have spent thousands of years evolving alongside native plants, these foreign plants are basically inedible. It's exactly like a pantry that looks totally full, but it's stocked with plastic food. And here's the bottom line. No insects means no bird food. Period. Okay, so if these fancy, non-native plants are the issue, what's the fix? Well, it all comes down to insects. And not just any insects. We need to talk about one very specific, kind of wriggly, and absolutely essential food source: caterpillars.
Just look at this number. 96%. That is huge. That's the percentage of our land birds here in North America that rely completely on insects to feed their young. Yeah, the bird seed and berries we put out are great for the adults, but for those little chicks in the nest, it is all about soft, protein-packed bugs, and especially caterpillars.
And this is where you can really see how not all plants are created equal when it comes to serving up that food. Let's take a native oak tree, for example. It's like a bustling, all-you-can-eat buffet supporting over 550 different kinds of caterpillars. But then you have a non-native ginkgo tree. It's beautiful, for sure, but it's a total food desert. It supports just 5 species. That is an insane difference in how much food is available. And believe me, they need a lot of food. To really put this in perspective, scientists have figured out that a single pair of chickadees needs to find up to 9,000 caterpillars just to raise one nest full of babies. 9,000. Just let that sink in. Now think back to that ginkgo tree. A parent bird could search that tree all day long and never, ever find enough food. And the wider science totally backs this up. Study after study has found that, on average, native plants support 35 times more caterpillar life than non-native plants. This isn't just a tiny difference, folks. It's a gigantic gap that literally determines whether or not birds can even successfully raise a family in our neighborhoods.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, and it's a big one. But now for the fun part, the solution. And you don't need a PhD in botany to do this, I promise. It's really just about picking plants that are true team players in the local ecosystem. So let's check out a few of these native superstars that are actually easy to find and have this huge, huge impact.
Okay, first up, meet the serviceberry. This plant is an absolute powerhouse. Seriously, it's like a triple threat. In the early spring, its flowers are feeding pollinators. Then, its leaves become lunch for over 120 species of caterpillars. And then in June, right when those baby birds are at their hungriest, it produces these super nutritious berries that over 40 species of birds, we're talking everything from thrushes to orioles, they absolutely go crazy for. This thing just works hard all season long. So, are you feeling inspired? I hope so, because you don't have to go out and rip up your whole garden tomorrow. You can totally transform your yard from a food desert into a thriving habitat, and it can be broken down into a really simple 3-step action plan that, seriously, anyone can follow. Here it is, super simple. Step 1, create layers. Birds live and feed at different heights, so you want to plant a mix of stuff: ground covers, shrubs, and trees. Step 2, And this one is a biggie. It's non-negotiable. Get rid of all pesticides. Just stop using them. Remember, the insects are the food. What you think looks like damage is actually a food web that's working. And finally, step 3, aim for 70% native plants. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be intentional about getting to that number. And that 70% number, it's not just pulled out of thin air. It comes from some really important research done at the University of Delaware. Scientists there found that Carolina chickadees could only keep their population stable and raise their young in yards where at least 70% of the plants were native. The second it dropped below that number, their nesting success just plummeted. So it's a clear, science-backed target for all of us to aim for. So, when you really get down to it, this isn't just about swapping out a few plants. It's about fundamentally changing how we see our own outdoor spaces. It's about redefining what a perfect garden really is. I absolutely love this quote because it gets right to the heart of this big mindset shift we need to make. Seeing a few holes chewed in a leaf, that isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of success. It means your garden is alive. It means some little caterpillar got a meal, which means a baby bird might get a meal too. It's a beautiful, functioning ecosystem, and it's happening right outside your door. So let's learn to embrace the mess. Leaving the leaves on your flower beds over the winter, that provides crucial habitat for insects to survive. Leaving the seed heads on your coneflowers, that's winter food for finches. This isn't being lazy, it's being a good host. Your messy garden is really a 5-star, all-inclusive resort for your local wildlife. And this brings us to the really incredible potential here. Look, a single yard can absolutely make a difference. But just imagine, what if entire neighborhoods started making these changes? We could literally create these green corridors of habitat, connecting our communities, turning this patchwork of sterile lawns into a vibrant living network. We could create, basically, a network of backyard national parks. Just what would that world look and sound like?